This interview features legendary science fiction author Harlan Ellison. One of his most famous short stories is called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's being adapted into a computer adventure game by Cyberdream.
I wrote I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream in one night, in one blue-white fit of passion. I sat down at a typewriter like Captain Nemo sitting down at his organ. I did Toccata and Fugue in D minor, and the next day, lo and behold, there was I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and it's remained virtually unchanged from that first draft all the years that it has existed. It's now one of the 10 most reprinted stories in the English language. It's taught in hundreds of universities. The computer, AM, is demented. It's demented because the flaws in the humans who programmed AM have shown up in the computer. And as a consequence, its madness, its paranoia, its hatred of humanity manifests itself in a way that eventually leads it to destroy the entire human race. And because it is trapped in the center of the earth, because it has this giant intellect and can do nothing with it, it is forever a prisoner in its own madhouse. Am brings the last 5 people left on Earth, saves those 5 people, and brings them down below to the center of the Earth so that Am can torment them endlessly through all eternity, makes them almost immortal, so that their torment never ceases, and in that way Am amuses itself. When David Sears began working on it, and I said to him, I want a game that you cannot possibly win. And he said, well, that might frustrate the player a little. I said, a noble endeavor as far as I'm concerned. What better fun is there than to frustrate game players? But he said, no, there probably should be a point to it. I originally said that what I want the game to be is not a shoot-'em-up, an arcade kind of thing. What I wanted was a game that taught ethics. That if in fact you could not win this game, at least you could lose better. The more ethically you played, the better choices you made as a human being, the better you could wind up. As it turns out, there is a different ending now. The game has evolved. I put things in everything I do that are intended to rattle the cage, stir the soup. People say, well, you only write to shock. Duh. Yeah, okay. I mean, that is a noble endeavor, to shock. I mean, there are already enough people in the world who will put you to sleep with their assurances. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the skinheads. Don't worry about fascism. Don't worry about the Ku Klux Klan. Don't worry about the far right. None of these things really matter. Everything is fine. That is not the way the world runs. I use the trope of the Holocaust frequently in my work. And when someone says, well, it's going to trivialize it because it's in a game, nothing can trivialize the Holocaust. I don't care whether you mention it in a comic book, on bubblegum wrappers, in computer games, or write it in graffiti on the wall. Never forget. And putting it in this game is intended to annoy people, to shock people, to upset people. I'm a visitor in this medium. I don't for a moment pretend to be a gaming person. The extent of my gaming experience is that coming back from England, I played Jurassic Park for 3 wasted hours on a plane, on a TV set about this big. And at the end of 3 hours, I said, how can people spend years doing this? It is an utter and absolute stupid waste of time. There's a lot of my dialogue in it. I mean, you'll hear my voice. Well, as a matter of fact, you'll hear my voice as the voice of Am, the demented computer. But in all of the dialogue, you will hear my smart mouth in the way I speak, in the way my stories read. There was a game I looked at called Wolfenstein. I probably shouldn't be bad-mouthing another game, but I looked at this and I found it certifiably demented. I mean, here is this thing where, people get large holes blown in them as they run around through catacombs, McNazis. And I thought, well, probably this was not the end result of us getting the opposable thumb. I think people should use the level of technology that best suits the job. Form follows function. If a shovel is going to dig the hole best, then you don't need a backhoe. If a typewriter can do the job, or a quill pen, or a computer, use whatever does the job. For I use these two fingers. I taught myself to type, and I type 120 words a minute with two fingers. I seldom make mistakes. I put foot-pounds of energy. When I hit the computer, the damn thing doesn't spring back, and so I make nothing but typos. I like to look at a manuscript. I like to look at the shape of an 8.5 by 11 page. It has meaning for me. It has vibrancy. It has life. And my energy is in every one of those keys. Every image that is struck on that page came from me hitting it like that. It is my foot-pounds of energy. My contact with my reader is closer in that way. The game is intended to keep you at a tilt from the start to the finish. This is the sort of game that Franz Kafka would have either written or enjoyed playing, I think. It is not a game to put you to sleep. It's not Donkey Kong, and it definitely is not the Mario's. Art should always be harder. You should pull it out with some pain. It should cost you something to produce art. Otherwise, it ain't art. It's mediocrity. There's an eerie look to this game. Eerie look. Well, maybe it's just because I'm unfamiliar with the way games are supposed to look, because I haven't played that many. But when I look at the actual games of the character on whatever track moving through, I think, God, that's really bizarre. It's strange, because the movement is not, it's very much like it's a simulacrum of life. It's not lifelike, like say a Disney cartoon. There's a jerkiness to it because it's computer generated, but that in some way enhances the strangeness of this story. Parents groups exist to be alarmed. If they are not alarmed this week about a computer game, they will be alarmed this week about Dungeons and Dragons. If it's not that, it'll be comic books. If it's not that, it'll be television. If it's not that, it's going to be drugs. They're always concerned about something else rather than the fact that they don't know how to raise their children because they were bad children themselves and became bad adults. This is a game that says the human condition is composed of unequal parts of courage and friendship and ethics and self-sacrifice and brutality and bestiality and degeneracy and mendacity. That is what I think is the nobility of this game. Understanding, in however small measure, that we are not alone, that we are all inside the same skin. I think the printed word is the perfect medium. I think a book is the perfect cassette. You can start it wherever you want. You can stop it wherever you want. You can run it backward any way you want. It has absolute perfect pitch and tone and color, and the characters look exactly as you wish them to look, and they sound exactly as you wish to hear them. I love it when people say, he's innocent until proven guilty. No, fool. That's in front of the bar of law. He's innocent until proven guilty in front of the bar of law. But in the real world, if one looks and says, I don't know, quacks like a duck, waddles like a duck, sheds water like a duck, he's probably a duck. I mean, only a fool would say, Furman planted a glove. Whoever invented the idea of putting a baseball cap on backwards? I'm out here driving in the valley last year with my wife, and it's 120 degrees. People are frying eggs on the sidewalk, and here stand two kids at a bus stop with their hats turned backwards, dropping dead of heat prostration, and I drive by and they go, turn the hat around, moron! But they won't. It would be my delight if this game set a trend, and all of the arcade bang-bang games that turn kids into pistol-packing papas and mamas were subsumed into games like this, in which ethical considerations and using your brain and unraveling puzzles became the modus operandi. It would be my pleasure if that was it. I don't think it'll happen. I think you like being diverted too much.